as the time went on and we got closer and closer to studio quality, our views actually did not go up. And then when we started posting stuff that was very basic, people will watch and they'll be glued to it because the quality of the content that you're saying.
All right, welcome to Quest for Keys, where we highlight key moments in entrepreneurs' lives that unlock doors on their path to success. I'm your host, Hone Tai, and joining me is the ever-inspiring Alvin Wee. And it's my pleasure to welcome Nick Uhas. He has over 7.1 million followers on TikTok and over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Incredible numbers, incredible. And in 2013, Nick began producing a pop science YouTube channel where he performs enormous science experiments in a highly artistic and visually stunning manner. Definitely check out his stuff. It's great. He's worked with many companies such as NBC's Today Show, Dr. Oz, Fox and Friends, DreamWorks TV, Awesomeness TV, the Discovery Channel, and Netflix. And then look, outside of all of that, he's built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio in Ohio if that wasn't enough. And now, to just put the cherry right on top, at the age of 17, he became a professional rollerblader for Team Rollerblade USA. Amazing. Nick, welcome to the show.
Man, I love it when you guys say it. This is awesome. It's like having a very hype man. It's like if we were all single, we're at the bar, I was like, yo, this is the guy that I want with me because
that's right.
Anyone in here is going to be super interested. Yeah, man, you touched on a lot of good things.
Yeah, that's why I got Hone in here, man. He's the he's that guy, you know. He's my hype man.
I feel like we needed the air horn. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, wah, wah. All right.
Nick is here.
DJ Uhas.
There you go.
Yeah,
man.
Oh, I love it.
But Nick is a badass, man. That's why I'm so excited to have him on the show. I mean, you can go so many directions here because he's got so much accolade, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
You're a pretty impressive dude. And it's like, you know, the minute I met you, I'm like, man, I got to get this guy on my podcast. I got to get to know this guy. He's just, you're one of the superstars, especially here in Los Angeles, man. Our LA chapter's a badass on its own merit.
Dude,
but man,
we have a great chapter.
You're one of the special guys.
I really appreciate that. I want to interject. I think honestly, like when you look at the resume, it's like you see all the accolades, right? I think this is a total result of this is a personality trait. I get hyper focused on certain things, and then I just go all the way to the end. So as opposed to like being like, hey, I'm going to play basketball and I got on the JV team and it was fun and I kind of toured around. No, it's like if I did play basketball, I would have only done it and continued to do it if NBA was in the trajectory. And I would have been so obsessed, I would have gotten to that point. And that's sort of what happens. So like all of those specific accolades, it's a result of just being totally obsessed and not really doing much else in that time frame. Just going like ultra deep until something is hit.
So have you always been like that, man?
So I didn't think I was like that, actually. So when I was younger, and I was, by the way, this is like, I feel like all these entrepreneurs who write these books, right? They're always the same, right? They're always like, I couldn't read. I was held back in school. And then I overcame this, this big problem, from a young age. I never thought I was one of those people, but I actually almost did get held back in school for not being able to read. And I think it's a function, literally, of a personality trait of ADD, right? ADHD, whatever you want to look at it. This has been so poo-pooed for a long time. Now it's getting this kind of like renaissance now about people are like actually sort of rallying behind ADD. Because for the longest time, it was just like, we're going to medicate this out just to just eradicate it, right? We're going to basically give people enough amphetamines that they're going to be able to act like normal humans. But I feel like it's kind of a disservice to that trait because that trait actually can allow you to hyper-focus. So the one part of it says you're so distracted all the time. But the other side of that coin is that once you do focus, you cannot unfocus. So it's really just about the overcoming the barrier to entry for getting into the focus zone. It's like a pit bull. Once it locks on, it just does not let go. And I think actually, if you were to really study a lot of very successful people, I think a lot of them probably have ADD. They probably all have that. And I'm not even going to call it a disorder. That's so unfair. It's actually kind of more of like a superpower if you know how to harness it.
I was gonna say, man, because I feel like you're talking about me right now, and I don't want to be insulted, but but
So
I'm glad we're all laughing about it because we're all the same, man. This is what makes us successful. But yeah,
sure.
man, look, you've done a lot of stuff, man. Like, so right now, so what do you do now? Let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So, and I will sort of tell you the trajectory if I can, like on a sort of mini story
Sure.
arc for how I got here, right? So I'll tell you right now, I have a media marketing company, and I'm going to tell you what we're doing with it here in a bit. But I'm going to tell you how I got there because it's interesting in media and in marketing, and perhaps even in real estate. There's no rules, there's no school, there's no class. What I mean by that is like if you want to be a lawyer, there is a very easy route to go. So same thing with doctor, engineer, lawyer, things you go to college for. There are routes that you can take. Entertainment and entrepreneurship, and even I would argue real estate, there's just no rules on how you get there and how you're successful. And so I didn't necessarily start out thinking I'm going to be in entertainment. Actually, how I started is I was a wrestler in high school. And I took it very seriously. ADD, we just mentioned this. And I went ultra hard on it. And I ended up placing in the state tournament. And I was going to go off to wrestle in college. But it was too difficult to manage being a bio major, pre-med, and wrestling at the same time. So I decided I was going to focus on pre-med. During that time frame, though, however, I had skated rollerblading. This was very popular in the 90s. I was a 90s child. And I always wanted to be a pro rollerblader. So I started when I was 10. And I watched these people go on the X Games, and I watched them do these backflips and grind on these rails. And I was like, that is so cool. But I was living in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. Small little town outside of Columbus, Ohio, Hilliard, Ohio at the time. It's much larger now. But I always thought that'd be so cool to live in Southern California and be a pro skater. And I kind of like shelved that dream because at the time when I was 10, it just was not applicable to do this in Ohio. So I became really obsessed with this idea. And then I wasn't able to do it when I was 12, 15, 16. And I finally got the opportunity when I was 18 years old to move. And so I moved at 18 years old. I did 1 year of college in Ohio, and then I moved to California. And I said, I'm just going to figure it out. And so the strategy I took was actually the strategy that I used in wrestling, which was like nose to grindstone, dogged, just grind, go, improve, get into any competition I possibly can. And I really approached it like a sport. But what I learned while becoming pro and going from amateur to pro was that rollerblading was actually part of the entertainment industry. And what I mean by that is that you could actually be the best rollerblader. You could win a bunch of competitions, but you could actually not turn pro. And the reason why is like the industry had to accept your marketability. And so I had to learn how to rise up in the ranks by being marketable. And the way that I learned to do that was exactly how you do it in entertainment, which is you get in with the right set of people. You find out who the influential people are. Who are the editors at the magazines? Who are the people who are the gatekeepers for the sponsorships? And when you start to figure that out, you start to realize like, okay, I don't need to be literally the world's best rollerblader. I actually just need to be like on par with a pro. And then I need to figure out how to market myself as like someone who is deving out a niche that I can then basically put myself in a position where I am like different than the rest of the pros, but that people are still gravitating towards me as a marketable entity. And so I learned how to do that through like 18, 19, 20. And I actually, the way I turned pro is kind of interesting. I technically did not qualify for this competition. It was called the ASA, the Aggressive Skating Association. And I did not qualify because you actually had to go through this like lower level and then get like top 10 or whatever, and then go on to the North American World Championship. But because I did not qualify, my sponsor said, don't worry, you're good enough. I'm just going to get you in. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous because I was like, for sure that after my first run, people were going to be like, oh, that Nick Uhas guy, he's so unqualified. His sponsor just got him in here. This is embarrassing. I can't believe he'd even show up for this. After the first round, okay, and just to set sort of some precedent, once you go to the North American World Championship, everyone is considered an amateur. But the top 10 turn pro. And what that means is that the top 10 gets to then be on this other circuit. It's kind of like going from like college to like the NFL or college to the NBA. You qualify basically by getting to a certain placement. And so after my first round, I was in third place. So I was like 7 places ahead for a competition I wasn't even supposed to be in, that I was like 100% sure that I was not qualified for. I ended up actually taking 7th. And so overnight, I became a professional, like as far as the ASA is concerned. And then T-Mobile USA reached out to me and said, hey, we loved your performance. We think you're doing so well on these street comps. Like your name is everywhere. We want you to come on and like sign a contract with us and be an actual professional. And so that was like childhood dream check. Like it was just like cloud nine. I literally, from the ages of like 10 up until 19, had never thought past like life past pro skater. And so once I did it, and I skated professionally until about 21, there was a little bit of a vision problem because I literally had not thought about what is my life after this. There's actually another GoBundance guy, Aaron Belke, who does a whole program. Shout out to Aaron Belke for a vision course. Would highly recommend it. But he actually explains it very perfectly, and that's that you're climbing a mountain. And once you've hit that mountain, you actually don't go on to the next mountaintop from the mountain you've just sort of conquered. You actually go down first. And that's true. You go down because you lose your identity from what the last mountain was that you've conquered. And now you're kind of in this like valley of doom. And you have to like re-envision yourself and rethink about what that is. So there's this time frame where like I was a pre-med student, taking it very seriously. I was an anatomy TA, like working for the department. I was an organic chemist working in the organic chemistry department under a guy named Dr. Callan to get published. I graduated with a 3.92. So like I took it very seriously to be like an actual, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. And so in that time frame though, I felt like my identity was totally lost. I was like, I guess I'm Dr. Nick now. But eventually I realized that like, I didn't actually want to be a physician. Where I really wanted to be was I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I wanted to have something that replicated what I loved about skating, which was rising through this like, kind of like invisible rank of an industry that was entertainment. And so I kind of reoriented at the end of my college career. And I actually took summer school at Yale University. And I took a program for economics and then video production. And my TA at Yale University said, I'm doing this thing called YouTube. And I'd never heard of it. And I was like, what is this thing? And he's like, you can make videos and you can put them online. And I was like, that sounds cool. Maybe I could put state videos there or like whatever. And his first video that he produced with this singer guy went ultra viral. Like they went on Oprah and Ellen. This is so early internet that a video going viral was like newsworthy. Like people were like, this guy's been seen 25 million times on the internet. Now that's laughable, right? Like video gets 25 million views, like no one cares. Tons of people have done that. And so it set this whole different trajectory where I started to realize, okay, the entertainment industry, from what we've now known it, may be different in the future. And so I actually did not fully jump on board for digital in the beginning because I actually wasn't totally fully sold on it yet. So what I did is after Yale University, I graduated Ohio State bio major with just a minor in economics and video production. I actually got asked to come back to Yale University with that same group of people to produce a feature film. But I knew nothing about video production. And so I got asked to be a van driver, a PA, a behind the scenes guy, a camera guy, an actor in the movie. Kind of like, it was almost like an internship to do anything and everything. And it paid basically nothing. But I got to do this like crash course in entertainment. At the end of it, there was a girl named Allison Williams, who was Brian Williams, the lead anchor at NBC. It was his daughter. She was one of the stars in this feature. And she was dating at the time the guy who owned College Humor. And so I was getting desperate. I did not want to go back to Ohio. And I was like, I will do anything to find a job in entertainment. And so I said, Allison Williams, please, will you just ask anyone you know in entertainment like for work? And so she asked, she had a bunch of different leads, and one of them is to work at College Humor. And so she actually got me a job at College Humor working as a production assistant and van driver. It's like the lowest possible job. It is brutal. Like you just get abused, but it was a job. And I was super stoked. And so my digital career started at the ground floor working as a PA driver for College Humor, which was owned by Interactive Corporation, which is a larger digital company. They are like a conglomerate. They owned a bunch of different websites and stuff. And so I spent 3 years in New York doing traditional media. working for College Humor doing production. I mean, if people don't know what College Humor is, it's like an online. It was like YouTube and also had its own website. And it was like sketch comedy. It was kind of like SNL, but for the internet. It was kind of like literally college style humor. So I did New York for 3 years. And in those 3 years, I did acting, hosting, modeling, anything that was like the traditional track. And I learned how to get an agent, how to become marketable, how to get yourself on TV, how to book jobs. And I did that all while doing really crappy jobs, like handing out coupons on the street corner, dressing up like a chicken or whatever, like whatever you needed to do, like I did it. Bartending, anything, I did it to just stay in the game and to make money, to like learn how it was being done. In those 3 years.
Let me stop you for a second, because I want to bring out something really cool here, unpack it a little bit. So what Nick has done is, he just kind of went on this path, and as he was identifying certain directions, he just took on everything that he can see that led him to an opportunity. And these are like, what led you to make these decisions as you were going? Like, obviously, you didn't really have a true sort of direction yet. You're still kind of exploring, right, at this point?
100%.
What was going through your head while you're making all these decisions along the way?
So a lot of it was this, is like, I knew where I wanted to go. I had a very clear vision, but I just didn't know how to connect all the dots. So very similar to actually what we do currently within media now is what it's referred to as A/B testing. I tried A, I tried B. Which one put me further ahead? Oh, it was B. Okay, we're going to continue doing B. B turns into A again. Okay, we're going to try A, we're going to try B. Which one's working? A. Great, we go that way. And so it's just this continuous A/B testing. And we say this all the time within the space, but we call it A/B testing to success. It's just micro test after micro test after micro test. Because what happens, especially in entertainment, is like it's a very rapidly changing environment. So it's like, because it's changing so quickly, you just got to try a bunch of different stuff, and you can't bet the farm every time, or else you're not going to have any more tests to do. So you got to kind of like dip your toe. Nope. Dip your toe. Yes. Okay. That direction. And that just leads you to these pathways. And I think one thing I've definitely learned for doing this now for like 11 years is you have to be a little more open to the pathway, but I really wouldn't change the end goal, right? Because if you start changing the end goal, then the whole thing kind of gets flippant, but it's certainly open to changing the pathway. So to just kind of continue on this long story, after 3 years of being in New York, I realized that digital was taking off, and my friends from that original Yale group were doing massive things. They were doing like these major TV commercials from their success on YouTube. And so I said, I need to get in the game. So I came up with a plan. And my plan was I was going to go on a reality TV show. I was going to get a big following. And I was going to use that following to start a YouTube channel. So I went on the show Big Brother, which I thought I was just going to own this space. I got eliminated week 2. So wasn't exact. So you were A/B testing. It was like, hey, we're going A route. And then I got crushed. And I was like, holy shit, got to immediately go a different route. So after that show, I got the bump that I was looking for. And then I started a YouTube channel, which is the YouTube channel that I basically kept working off of. But it's not like I had this excellent vision. I would never admit to be this like amazing creative visionary. I actually tried 3 shows in the beginning. I tried a red carpet hosting show, just what I was familiar with doing. That was one of my freelance jobs. I tried a sketch comedy show. That's what I was familiar with, doing College Humor. And I tried a science show that I just thought would be fitting because I knew so much about science. The science show got like 3x the amount of views than all the other ones did. I dropped them totally. I made them unlisted. I only started doing science stuff. As I started doing science stuff, momentum started building. I got a full-time job at the Weather Channel that was producing in Burbank, where I was doing interstitials, small pieces of content for linear television. That contract went on for a year. That got me to work with DreamWorks TV as a producer. So I was doing executive producing. And then that got me in front of Dr. Oz. That got me in front of the Today Show. My digital resume is building. It's snowballing. I get to a point where I'm actually able to sustain my own following is giving me brand deals to keep the machine going. And there's a very pivotal moment around 2018, 2019. I've been in this industry so long that I've been able to recognize what I'm referring to as digital seasons. Digital seasons are where you can see what trends are happening on a very macro scale, either be within the platform or a whole new platform. and you are able to identify where you should put your resources. I saw YouTube go from nothing to something spectacular. I saw those exact same fundamental things happening in TikTok. And so I put all of my resources into TikTok. And in that first year, we were getting 1 million views of video, like no problem. I remember our first video that hit 37 million views and we gained like 4 million followers. And I was like, damn, I was like, this is the juice. Let's keep going. Then we did one video that got 266 million views, and that shot us up to that 7.2 marker. And then that bled into some of the other viewership. And so that could not be done today in today's environment. Meaning like there are just too many people on YouTube or on TikTok. And even if I released that same video today, it would have never gotten the same amount of views, and it wouldn't have gotten the same amount of following. And if you look at a lot of people that have been in the game a long time when it comes to social, you'll find that they actually started before it was popular, before it was monetized, or before there was a lot of people on that platform. And that's actually how you play the game. The way you play the game in the social media world is you don't doggedly beat your head against the wall to try to get views if you're in that celebrity space. By the way, I just want to break it out really clearly just so that you guys understand. There's really 3 main areas of like being a creator. The first one is celebrity. That is like you're just doing everything for views, and you're doing that in order to monetize your viewership for like leverage it for brands. The other one is a studio model. That'd be like Warner Brothers. They've got a lot of IP and they're just putting it everywhere on all the different platforms. And then you have the business owner, and they're basically doing it to get leads. So they don't need a huge following. They just need the following they need to in order to get transactions.
More
in
targeted audience.
Targeted. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. In that celebrity sphere, you just need as big of an audience as possible. More the merrier. Because really brands are paying you for your reach. And so that really the way that people grow those big, massive audiences is they do it knowing where to invest their resources before those platforms get really big. And like that's actually been very common because then once they have a following, they tend to then have a following again on multiple platforms. So that's kind of led us up to like right now. So that led us up to, I hosted a Netflix show for 3 seasons. I hosted a Discovery show for a full season. And we now have gotten to a point, which we didn't even mention this, but we actually have 51 channels on Snapchat that get 74 million views a month. So like we've really mastered the ability of like the studio model and the celebrity model. And so we're focusing now is in this business creator model, which is basically borrowing all the keys to success in all those areas. By the way, listening to you guys' podcast, I just realized that. So borrowing all those areas and then applying them to this other sphere down here. And that's something that we're really focused on now because I personally believe that the future of digital media is really going to rest with the business creator. And the reason why is because we've been around in time long enough, at least a decade, to where there are so many creators, but the ad dollars aren't necessarily keeping up with the amount of creators that are being born every day that have over 10,000 followers. So the people that are in that celebrity camp that are like trying to monetize their following and they don't have a business, those people's revenue streams are going to just shrink and shrink and shrink over time. And the pace in which they're going to have to continue to get more followers and the pace in which they're going to have to continue to make more and more content, it's going to go up. And then the ad dollars are going to continue to go up too, but just not at the pace for that camp. The people that I think are going to the people that I think that are going to be able to win big are the people that have businesses and can take advantage of social media. Because now they kind of have a twofold win. They already have a business that makes money, and they can just totally take advantage of all the things that have been learned in the last decade. And they can build that funnel in the sense it's absolutely free for distribution. Doesn't cost you. There's no cost to produce. Like there's a cost for production, but there's no cost to actually put it out. You can post 100 videos in a day if you wanted to. It's not like YouTube charges you $1 to post. And so those 2 metrics, I feel like are going to allow the business creator to thrive in the next 10 years.
That would be the plan then for people who are looking to either start a YouTube channel or any social media channel. It's like, well, if you're looking to monetize at some point, have a business that you can funnel these people into, right? Don't just be the celebrity, because that was really popular. Ask any like 10-year-old, what do you want to be? I want to be a big YouTuber, right? The ad dollars just aren't there for them now. Or you have to be like really special for those ad dollars to be there for you.
It's just like it's a matter of what happened was this is that when TikTok rolled out and we went from short form scrolling. So short form scrolling was like 30 seconds. Now it's actually up to 3 minutes, 9 by 16, so vertical. The amount of followership that happened from that, how many people, how many micro influencers were born, is just outpacing the amount of ad dollars that also came onto the market at the same time. And so we're seeing a little bit of like I wouldn't call it a plateau, but it's like the rate in which ad dollars are coming into digital, even though digital is still cannibalizing linear, it's still happening and probably going to continue to happen. The piece of the pie that's just allocated to any one individual creator is just going to get smaller. And so to stand out and to be a bigger creator is just going to be like an uphill battle. And so it's like the function of short form is what allowed this to happen. And now that there's just so many micro creators, it's not fertile soil anymore. And so like, yeah, I know all these people want to be YouTubers in the future. Like a better bet would be for them to like work for their dad's business and like become a celebrity influencer, but with the business backing. Like that's the future.
Kind of like how Gary Vee kind of started, right? He had the whole bottle wine thing, right?
Absolutely. You know what? That dude was like 10 years ahead of his game. So
like
Gary
20
Vee started.
years.
Gary Vee started basically by doing wine reviews for his dad's company. And so almost exactly like that example.
Big
and so
Jets bucket, just spitting wine into the Jets bucket. Yeah.
Exactly. But then he evolved, right? He evolved over time.
Don't we all? I would love to actually dig a little deep into your channel. Do you still build your YouTube channel? Like, because I saw like you posted a video like 3 months ago and all that. Are you still actively building the Nick Uhas channel?
Yeah. So it's interesting because like if you look at the way that YouTube is now, or like look at the other platforms, we decided that like of all our resources, we were going to specifically only really focus on short form digital. So like the 30 to 3 minute. And the reason why is because we noticed that our long form videos were taking anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to produce and edit. And then we thought, okay, we know that long form typically, historically speaking, has a long tail, which means that content has a longer shelf life. Someone would look at that video 3 months from now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now. And in the future, I believe that long form will have a resurgence. So long form will once again kind of like actually be more so valuable than short form. The problem is that short form right now is just still the addictive drug of choice for these platforms. So if you have limited resources in the sense of like, you know, you can't do everything all at once because there's only one Alvin, right? You have to choose where to put your time, energy, and effort. We've just chosen to put it into short form. And so we have a short form cadence that is way outpacing our long form products right now. In the future, if that seems to turn around or we find that there's a different reason to do that, we'll absolutely do that. But also, at the same time, our company is almost, we're really shifting our focus from being, our only focus for like the last 10 years is to be a celebrity influencer. And we've kind of reached this point where once the trend is moving and it's moving really fast, it doesn't require a lot of energy to continue for it to move. And so that's where we're at now. We're like, you know what? We're just going to keep adding coal to the fire and we're going to keep this train moving forward. But where we're really putting our growth goggles on is specifically in helping other creators create content that are in that business space, as well as the people that are in that celebrity space. Because we just realized that and this is kind of like even a more macro understanding of the industry as a whole, is that we realized that there were probably the value gap between what people need in the space is actually more from we don't know how to do it. We actually don't know how to do social media. And so there are way more people out there that need help with social media than there are the need for eyeballs to watch new content. There's tons of content. Yep. There's way more content than there ever has been, probably ever needs to be. And so we're like, you know what? Are we adding to the problem or are we adding to the solution? And so we said, you know what? We still want to participate in this area. So we're never going to shut this off totally. But what we want to do is we want to stay sharp in this area and still have access to all the the big platforms. You know, we want to get invited to VidCon. We want to go to the Snapchat parties and the YouTube parties. We want to have access to the platforms and know what's happening on the ground floor, have the inside track. We want to take that information and we want to pass it off to our clients. Because if we're like serious, and we're really serious about bringing on clients and training them to do social media, we want to give them the inside track. We want to say, hey, I've been in this industry for 10 years. Let me tell you what's coming down the pipeline. Let me tell you where I would invest time. Let me tell you where, if you want your business to thrive, here's how I would produce that content based off of all the information that we have coming in, but also the information I have in the past. And if we feel like if we stop producing content totally, we're going to be stop invited to the table. So we're saying, you know what? We're going to continue making the content. We're just not going at the same pace. And we're going to divert that energy to helping clients who are in that, the business creator space.
So let's dive in a little bit into that. So, because I know, we had a call a couple weeks ago and you and I were chatting and said you were going to start helping me a little bit. So let's go into the specifics of that. When you're saying helping clients, what do you mean exactly? Like, are you going to be creating the content for them, creating the framework?
Thank you so much for asking, Alvin. I will tell you exactly how this works.
I'm trying to set you up, bro.
I appreciate it. That was the perfect tee up. You're like, hey, man, we're just letting everybody know that this is coming down the pipeline. Boom, there you go. So we noticed, I had a gross overestimation of how much people knew about social media. In my mind, because we live in this all day long, so me and my team of 5, we just really thought that like everybody knew how to do this. As it turns out, everybody knows what it is and everybody knows how to consume it, but not everybody knows how to make it. And so and the good analogy was like, everybody knows what a good steak tastes like, but not everybody knows how to make a great steak. And so that was a little bit shocking for me. And so what we do is we realize that like a lot of it was just stemming from like, what are the basics? So when we bring some on, we have a worksheet they fill out. That worksheet they fill out basically tells us all the information that we need to know in order to take them through a boot camp. We take them through the boot camp, which is kind of just like an onboarding process. It's like, hey, this is social media 101. Here's how you write a script. Here's how you think about writing the script. Here's what kind of content we're going to look for. Here's how you be creative in this space. Here's a tripod. Here's how you film it. Here's how you take that footage off of your phone. Here's how you put it on to your computer. Here's how you send it to an editor. And then here's how we or you would upload that content. And then here's how you analyze the footage. Here's how you analyze the data. And here's how you choose to go forward. And so right now, like what we've discovered is that most people who own a business are actually amazing content creators. They just don't know how to make the content. What I mean by that is they know exactly what the cool little fun things are that their clients need to know, want to know, and should be knowing, but they actually don't know how to turn that into content. And that's where we come in. So we say, cool, like you in your own head have the exact right content ideas already. We're going to extrapolate those out of you and we're going to show you how to put it into a short form piece. They film it, they send it to us. The number one breakdown in content creation is editing. To tell a guy who owns a business that they're going to have to learn not only how to do all those things I just mentioned, but then also learn Adobe Premiere and then figure out how to get Envato stock images and put them on something and like keyframe. I mean, you're gonna blow people's brains up. So we know that like the number one pain point is editing. And so we said, hey, like in what we offer, we say, we're going to teach you how to do the content. You're going to film it. We're going to walk you through exactly how to create the scripts and we're going to walk you through how to film it. You're going to drop it to us in a Google Drive and then we're going to take it, we're going to cut it, we're going to edit it, we're going to show it to you. You're going to give us an approval process and then we're going to post it for you and then we're going to do an analytic review and then we're going to keep this going. And like every month we do like a one-on-one. We talk through everything to make sure we're on pace and we do it by content deliverables. And the reason we came up with that schedule too is I did quite a bit of R&D about like how the people were doing this. And a lot of them were these like local shops. And I asked, what do you shoot on? And they said, I shoot on a DSLR, which is a camera that has a lens. And then I was like, well, why are you guys doing that? Why aren't you shooting on iPhones? And they said, well, it just looks more professional. And then we started looking more into the content that they had for the clients. And we started saying, hey, just so you know, the viewing, like the best viewing experience is one with a very, very, very shallow depth of field, which means there's like no blurred background. It's something that looks like a tiny little lens because it makes it feel more authentic because it feels like it came from your phone. And then we started describing like what is an actual best piece of content. And we started realizing that it's just stuff that's on your phone. And so with that, we thought, okay, look, we don't have to send a crew out anywhere. One thing people are not willing to accept is bad audio, but they're very willing to accept quality that matches the consumption, meaning like if it's coming from your phone, the assumption is you shot it on your phone. You're sitting back on your couch and you're watching Netflix, your assumption is it was shot on a Sony a7 and it's beautiful and it was cut and it was produced and we're going to show you a show, but that's not the consumption pattern on social media. Consumption pattern on social media is like, hey, like, I just want you to be a random normal dude and you're just going to give me some information. And it's going to be very like whimsical. And that tells me that it's authentic. And now I trust you and now I follow you.
So it just has to be a little bit more relatable. So what happens to all the highly produced content now? So you're saying it doesn't give much value?
We, in our own experience, we have gone from like being very low budget, and this is from the celebrity side of the equation, right? So like all of the videos, I probably produced like 2,000, 2,500 videos, maybe more. And so what we noticed is like as the time went on and we got closer and closer to studio quality, our views actually did not go up. So it was kind of interesting. And then when we started posting stuff that was very basic, very lo-fi, but high quality concept, it's another kind of thing that we talk about all the time is like that the actual, the quality of concept needs to be really high, but the quality of production needs to be pretty lo-fi. Like not intentionally bad, like don't go shoot on a BlackBerry, but it's like, it you don't need to shoot on a red camera with perfect lighting, depth of field. It's beautiful. It's a tracking shot. You know, Alvin comes in the frame, the light hits him perfectly. And then he says something that no one cares about because then like no one cares. But if you were to say something that something really cares about, which your content's great, by the way, I've looked at it. People do care. People do watch. And for that reason, it's like people will watch and they'll be glued to it because the quality of the content that you're saying is good. That's what's really sucking people in. People will really be willing to dismiss bad quality.
This is great news. This is really great news because that just means less investment up front, less equipment, less gear, less everything, right? But you just have to be a good storyteller.
It also means that anyone can do this. So, which is to Nick's point, anyone can do this, but everybody don't start doing it because they run into walls like me where it's like, oh, I'm not that guy. I don't have that personality. You know, not everybody's a Nick Uhas who's just like in front of TV and just like can bring the energy in, you know? It took me a while to get to where I am. Like, you know, Nick, when I first met you, and especially, I think I can't remember which event it was, you kind of blew my mind. You're the one that told me, hey, you got to start doing social media. And I looked into it and that was like, all right, this is day one. The following day, I started shooting. I'm like, man, I am not this guy. I am not comfortable
by the way,
doing this.
you hear this languaging, this I am not that guy. And for everybody listening to this podcast, like Alvin was always the guy. He just didn't let that guy out.
Yeah, exactly. It was a limiting belief. Exactly that. It was a limiting belief. And I think the biggest thing there was I didn't know where to start. And I think that's where the biggest bottleneck was for me. I didn't know where to start. It was a completely different world. And even if I did know where to start, like I didn't have the correct framework, which is where I think Nick just really comes in with all his experience. It just, you know, this is an incredible service and need that a lot of our audience probably would be looking for. And
Confucius says, start where you are.
That's exactly it.
I super appreciate you sharing that too, Alvin. By the way, I really do think that you are perfect for social media, honestly, after watching your videos now. And you've grown as that person. Now, here's the one thing that we noticed is that exactly what you said was correct. Why aren't you doing it? I don't know how to do it. That was like the first thing. And I was like, oh, well I can explicitly show you how to do it, right? Like, and this gets back actually, if we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, there was no one hand-holding me with rollerblading. Had there been somebody, a mentor, a course I could have taken that said, hey, you want to be a pro skater? Let me show you how to do it. I would have excelled. It was the same reason why I excelled at wrestling. I had a coach. That coach showed me how to do it. They said, this is how you get successful at rollerblading. So now that's the service that we're offering. We're saying, hey, you want to do social media? I will literally show you how to do it from beginning the whole way through. And if you want to continue with this and keep going, we basically continue to consult as social media changes, because it's changing all the time. We will continue to do that. The other thing that I wanted to say with that, Alvin, is that you mentioned about like it's like people won't do it. The total advantage for having social media is the fact that other people won't do it. Like, and the reason why is because it is hard. It's in the same sense of like why everyone's like, I'm totally going to invest into real estate. And they just read another book, and they just don't. And you're like, well, why? You could go buy a house in, Lima, Ohio for $30K. It's very like, if the whole thing burned down, it just, it wouldn't be that bad of a situation. Like, your total loss. And so people won't do it because the barrier for entry is so high. And so the people that do it, they're the people that are, they have one eye in the land of the blind, right? They're just totally dominating those who do not have it, because it's such a powerful tool. Like, and I think it'll only become more powerful as time goes on, specifically because of the viewing patterns of digital. People continuously, we do this in Go Abundance. We did this the other week. Look down at your phone. What's your screen time? It's like 4+ hours. Like, we're not consuming less. We're consuming more.
You got to pump those numbers up, rookie.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. That needs to be 8 hours, bro. You need to be just on your phone all day long. And so it's like, if you're to start today, we had now generations that were brought up on this stuff. You're starting at the perfect time. You have the keys, right? Meaning, like, you have what Gen Z doesn't. You have the time, you have the money, you have the resources. Gen Z doesn't have this. And so, but Gen Z is your future consumer. And so are like younger millennials. So it's like, you invest now, you become that person, because those people younger and you don't have that kind of stuff. Then now you're the one with all the power. Like, you're the one that has the platform, you have the funnel. You can launch ahead now still.
I'm so motivated right now.
Let's go, baby.
Nick?
Podcast over. We're gonna go record content. All right.
Yes.
What I want to go. I want to dig into the things that you've already done. You have a video that's 33 million views on YouTube, the elephant toothpaste, and that one's great because I think you blew up because of TikTok, and that went viral, and then people found you on YouTube, and it blew up. So I understand that one. But you have a couple of them that were just like anomalies out of nowhere, like 1 million here, 2 million there, like the baking soda ones. You have different baking soda ones where you use baking soda to create like a sled and things like that. Can you go over why those ones have millions of views, and then there's like the video before and the video after have nowhere close? Like, what's the science behind all of that? Why did that happen?
So there's a couple videos that in the ones that you didn't mention, but there's some other ones that are like further back in the catalog. So what happens, and this is specifically for long form. So in long form, you basically, essentially the algorithm like runs a transcription based off of everything that you are saying into it. And then it runs it through sort of like an AI filter in a way. And it basically figures out what the video is about. And it understands exactly what that video is about. And it has a pretty good understanding of that. So it always wants to put it in front of other people. You can think of long form content much more like real estate investing. It's like you're creating this piece that's just going to exist for a long time. We've had videos that we've made, and they've just they did okay in the beginning, first 24 hours, nah, first even month, nah. And then like years later, they'll spike like 200, 300,000 views at a time. And you're like, how did this happen? You can actually look in the analytics and you can see where the traffic is coming from the platform. And it's usually from another suggested video. So we had this one video that was about potassium exploding. And it was an okay thumbnail. It was decent. But it was because of some other like streamer or gamer had created another video about specifically potassium in water. And so ours was just like next in line. So it was the next suggested video. And so that can happen at any time. You just don't know, right? You cannot predict the future. So you got to look at long form in a different way. You got to look at long form like just a different lens. The term is typically evergreen. That's what we use like in the kind of the social media. But I think of it more as like an investment. I would look at short form can be much more hyper focused on like trends, something happening now, because the total viewing time for a piece of short form content is about a day. And then I think the total length of it's about 30 days. And then it just goes into the abyss. To date, I've never really had a short form piece. Maybe this will change in the future, but I've never had a short form piece like surge later. It just hasn't happened. And I think that's just because of the general like viewing nature. I think there's just so much short form content. It's being essentially created so quickly that it's just so easy to consume new stuff. But with the long form, the psychology of long form is actually a bit different. So the psychology of long form is a trend that we're seeing now is that one of the viewing patterns that's happening from long form is that people are no longer watching long form on their phones as much. I can't remember what the exact stat is, but like specifically for YouTube, one of the leading areas for YouTube consumption now is on a television screen. So what it's telling you is that people are now like, the elder millennials and millennials have now said there is so much good quality content on YouTube, like people that have made documentaries about travel or documentaries about like history stuff, that they can literally consume it like a Netflix show. And so they can sit back on their couch and they can get some popcorn and they can watch a full episode, 12 to 22 minutes of a YouTube series that was produced as high quality as something they could see on the Discovery Channel or on Netflix. And so to answer your question, the reason why that happens is that the suggested bar launches another video because some other video out in the ether did well, and you just don't know when that's going to happen.
Okay, that explains it. Now, you have 11 videos with over 1 million views. Would you say like all of those were a byproduct of a suggestion?
Probably not. I would say there's a good chunk of them I can even remember. So another aspect specifically of social media, which is very like, it makes a lot of sense for the celebrity sort of area, not as much for the business, but it definitely can still benefit for the business, is collaborations. So like-minded people in your industry that are doing the same thing, but you have different viewing audiences. So we worked with a guy named David Dobrik, who was probably at the time the most successful YouTuber in Los Angeles at the time. And so pretty much everything he did was gold. And so we started doing videos with him, and pretty much everything we did started going viral. And so we milked that as long and as hard as we possibly could until eventually there was no more David Dobrik. He stopped producing videos, and that was that. And so that same kind of understanding of a collaboration can be used for other people they're like creating content. It's one of the fastest and easiest ways to grow your base.
So if you were to advise someone who's barely starting out on social media, what is the first thing you would tell them?
First thing is, and like this is something we actually go over in the program, which is finding your voice. So the first like 30 pieces of content, it's just so foreign. I mean, it's like again, this is a crappy old analogy about riding a bike. Let's just say it's more complicated. It's like flying,
riding rollerblades,
right? Rollerblades. There we go. In the beginning, it's just so foreign. It's just so different. It's nothing you've done. There is such a high internal dialogue of like, am I doing this right? I'm not doing this right. I'm not sure. There's no authority. I'm doing it by myself. No one's telling me if I'm doing this right or wrong or left or right or whatever. There's just so much chaos in your head that the confidence really does start at such a low threshold. It's like 5%. And you can't really get your creative juices going until your voice is in like your how you actually create content is so loud and it's so dominant now that now you're no longer thinking through the lens of like, am I doing it right? You're actually thinking of like about the idea. Man, this is gonna be a banger concept. I have such a good idea for this. This is gonna be such a good video because I'm gonna orchestrate it like this. And that excitement that's generated from that is your voice coming from the content that you've basically created, guiding you for how you're going to then create the next piece of content. And I think people get to about like number 5 or 10 pieces of content, and they're just like, it's too hard. This didn't go anywhere. They hit what I refer to as the valley of death. And so I really recommend people push through that to get to about 30 pieces of content. And so your voice is heard. And then after that, in my opinion, after about 30 pieces of content, that's really where the excitement and joy, I think, comes out. The first part is, it's just like boot camp. It's like going to the gym. If you've never been in the gym, it's torture a bit. You're not comfortable with it. You see no results. It's just all work, no fun. Then eventually the fun comes. And when the fun does come, it's a momentous product. It happens really quickly. And then before you know it, people are calling you the professional. You're the pro. You're the authority all of a sudden. And it happens weirdly, kind of like overnight. Like, you think you're like, I'm the unexperienced amateur, and then one day you're a pro. And it happens pretty quick. So to answer your question directly, 30 pieces of content.
All right, Alvin, 21 more. We're at episode 9 right now.
It took me 100 tries, by the way, before I got to that. So it took
Nice.
me a lot longer, man. It took me a lot longer to feel comfortable with it. I mean, initially, I was editing my own stuff in the beginning, and I was just like, man, this is taking so much time. Like, this is not high productive value for me, And
Yeah.
I was starting to think about okay, and I actually had to make a decision, like, do I keep doing this or not? What am I doing this for? And those are like questions that come up, like, what exactly am I doing this for? Am I going to start putting money into this? And then weirdly enough, here's what changed. I went to an open house and a guy walked up and he goes, "Hey, Alvin, I follow you. And, I want to talk to you more. And I kind of want to learn from you. And, what you're putting out there is really important because not a lot of people are investing in California. And I know there's a way to do it. And mind you, this agent, he's an agent. He has another client in the same open house, but he was talking to me instead. And he wanted to connect. So I'm like, holy shit. Okay. Now I see how this is actually going to be helping. But that to me was the pivotal moment. I'm like, okay, I think, because it's hard to identify whether this is, worth the while. And I think that's another barrier there. It's like, you can't, there's no way to kind of, I guess, identify whether it's working, unless you start monetizing somehow. So I guess my question to you, Nick, is, as a business owner, right? I'm putting out content out there. I'm spending a lot of money doing this now. I hired a team and all that stuff, not to your level of team, but, I'm experimenting with it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I haven't really reaped the benefits of this yet. So should I keep throwing that value in before I start reaping the benefits? Because, there's sort of this tug of war in my mind as like, well, I don't want to go and start asking for stuff now because I don't know if I'm going to lose more followers that way. And I don't know I don't know how that's going to affect my social media following.
So this is a great question, Buck. So I experienced this myself in that celebrity category of, by the way, like, it's not me saying I'm a celebrity. It's like, it's just what that area is called. That area, we went for a very long time and we got to the point where I'm saying the ROI isn't here. How long am I going to keep going? And so then I had to basically come up with parameters for like what, it was like, all right, how do I measure this? How do I measure if this is even working or not? And so what we did, and this is something that we outlined in, this is kind of like a part of our program, because we explain how we do this in the linear track. And the linear track is you don't have content, you have content. Then you go from having content to you have a brand. After you have a brand, we go into this whole paid media category, which is about like, you're essentially, you're so confident in your brand that you're leveraging it in a commercial way. That's like very high level technical stuff. But the question you're asking is really about from I'm creating content to I have a brand. The way that we came up with the model of like, how are you measuring this is we look at the total capture net of before you had social media and then you have social media. And so it's really important to look at what things are inbound to you now that you have social media. And if you stopped having social media, what would go away? And that tells you, it's just like a mathematical equation. What would go away and what would happen in the future if you kept going? And we like to measure those, right? We actually want to measure that. We want to say, okay, am I getting outside requests for something? Is there something that I wasn't getting before. And I'll explain how we came to this conclusion. When I was originally doing the social media stuff, I wasn't considering the outside opportunities that I was getting from these news outlets as a result of my social media. I just wanted brand deals. That's all I wanted. I wanted somebody to pay me, and I wanted to be getting money from the app itself. What I realized is that having social media allowed me to go on the Australian Today Show, the actual Today Show, which then led me to America's Got Talent. Those things allowed me then to have other tertiary monetizable things. Some of those were, I started doing a live science show. And so there was a monetizable amount of money. And that came from doing the Today Show, doing America's Got Talent, which only came from my social media. So I started looking at my social media more as like an investor, right? It's like, it's an investor, and it wants to sort of track where those opportunities spiraled out on. So a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are fixed on what they think that ROI is versus what the ROI could be, or they're just not looking at what's being given to them on the inbound. So a lot of times the inbound is just not what they were anticipating. Let's say I'm just going to make this up. You're a baker, okay? And you start baking, and you think that people are going to buy your cookie book, okay? But instead, people want to just get your recipes, okay? And so you're now like, I don't care about the recipes. I don't want to tell people about this. But then you find a way to monetize the recipes that you're doing as a cookie influencer. Now you have another route to track and say, cool, okay, I actually should keep going because I was able to monetize this inbound opportunity that I didn't see before. And so hopefully that answers your question, but that's how I was able to do it. I was able to say, this is definitely working. It's just not working in the way that I initially intended, but it is actually resulting in money. So I'm going to keep going. And then as I further went along, I realized that it led to a lot of other higher paying things than even just the in-person events. It led to things like the Netflix show. And it led to being able to be prepared to do the TikTok thing, which then directly led to doing brand deals. Like I never really did brand deals on YouTube, to be honest. Like I did like a couple of them, like maybe like 4 or 5 before we started doing TikTok. And then once we started doing TikTok blew up so big that it made our YouTube big as well. And so it's sometimes hard to perfectly analyze in the moment. But I think if you can measure the inbound in a way that it could be useful, that's a good way. It's a good metric to say, hey, here's what's actually coming towards me. Can I monetize this? What is that amount? What would be the net loss if I stopped doing this today?
Was Toyota one of your brand deals?
Yeah, we did this whole thing with the Toyota
Mirage, yeah. One of the comments said, "Did I just get tricked into watching a 6-minute Toyota ad?" Right? It's like you did. You incorporate the ad and the video, and you're not sure. You're just like, "This is a very good video. This video taught me a lot. This video, like, it's mind blowing." But there's this little tinge of ad, but I'm not sure if it's an ad or not. And it's like you execute on that so well. Where did you learn how to like tell stories? And then you have like, I'm listening for like the music in the background and how you use the songs and when and the volume of it. And it's like you do this so well. Like, how did you come up with that? And is that easy to do for you? Is it hard? It's like, do you have a whole, I don't know, like a back room of like sound effects and everything that you're just like, okay, here's my template? Or is every video new?
I super appreciate that, by the way. And that was we actually really enjoyed that. It was a 6-part series with the Toyota Mirai. I'm obsessed with Toyota, just in general. It's like my favorite car brand. And so it was just so awesome working with Toyota on that one. To answer your question, I was very excited about doing branded content. I think that was one of the things that led us to always wanting to do a really good job and be very creative with it. But I would not say that we are innately, by just blessed nature, good. We always go back to R&D, rip off and duplicate. We always see what works and works well in other people's content. But we were not good in the beginning. Like, not good at all. My first couple of videos were super cringe. And so it's we've just done so many. I think we've done like over 150 pieces of branded content. And once you do enough of them, you start to realize what works, and you start to realize that it's not actually all that difficult. There is definitely a structure for doing branded content. And I would say that the structure for doing branded content is you come up with whatever the functionality is that the brand is trying to get, which is referred to as a brand brief, right? What are the things that they're trying to get out? And that you make your creative concept as similar to that as possible, so that when you're doing the entertainment part, it is seamless to their brand integration, like what they're actually, the features that they're talking about. So if you had a toaster that was the most efficient toaster, whatever, you're going to be doing a video that is something very exciting about efficiency. And then it just seamlessly kind of moves into and this toaster is the most efficient toaster ever. Like, it just kind of worked perfectly into it, but it's very engineered. So it's like totally organized so that it's a soft landing the whole way through.
Got it. And you follow a format?
I was gonna say, like, do you have follow format, and do you have a team that helps you out with editing all these?
Yeah, so we have a team. We have a team of 5. So we have essentially like a full-time like integrator producer. We have somebody who does all the posting and all of the, I guess you could say, like, analytics. We have 2 people who do all the posting. We have a full-time editor, and then we have a creative. Creative is freelance, and then all of our production crew is freelance. So camera guy, sound guy, people out there actually helping us do the experiments, that kind of stuff, that's all freelance. Because production is such a tiny, slim portion of the whole equation. So yes, there's a whole team doing that, and there's a whole team thinking about it. When it comes to the actual like how to draft it, I have so many templates of scripts that essentially we just pull from the last one, and then we like go through and we just basically plug and play. And that just comes from having done it so many times. Like, it's actually very similar to how a movie works. Storytelling is all the same stuff, whether it be 30 seconds or 3 hours. It's all the same stuff. It's the hero's journey. I mean, that's a great example of storytelling, but it's like, we start off with what's the most exciting thing. We propose a problem or something we're trying to fix or learn. We learn how we're going to do it. We A/B test it, or we like figure it out. We get to that conclusion, and then we talk about the conclusion. And that is the whole arc. And we're just doing that over and over again.
Would you say that would be the same framework for social media and short form?
I think so too. So like a great short form like format is this, is that you start with the hook, you get people interested, you tell them why they should be interested, you give them the meat, the information that's really quality. Sometimes you can end with the CTA if it's appropriate. If not, you just end the whole story arc with essentially like you're not supposed to end abruptly like in the middle of your sentence, but you just want to kind of deliver the information, and then it's over. So that's kind of the framework.
So at what point do you start doing the call to action? That's what CTA meant, by the way.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of jargon, media shit. CTA, call to action. Call to actions get annoying if you do it every single time, right? But there can be other call to actions. So in my personal opinion, I think every video should have a call to action. So when I say like, you don't have to do it in every video, I think you should, though. You should encourage people to be engaging. Meaning, like, even if a call to action is, has this ever happened to you? Comment down below. Do you think we're going to sell this house? Let me know. Have you ever seen a house this crazy or a project this insane? If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Because it's like, social media is intended to be this two-way process. So like, if you're going to hook somebody in, they're going to take 30 seconds of their time to listen to the whole thing through. At the end of it, I think you should get some kind of interaction. And I think that's a healthy interaction for social media. Because then when it comes time to, like, let's say calling on, check out my course, go to this link, are you interested in investing in this project? You've now gotten people very accustomed to opening it like a conversation. I would highly not recommend doing no CTAs and then just randomly add it and be like, and sign up for my course. People are like, you're not used to talking to you. And so you want to be able to get in this model of like, you're chatting about stuff you're not trying to sell anybody on. And then when you are actually down by out, provide value and like, offer a course, then they're already accustomed to having this two-way conversation.
It's so great. I've taken away so much. And if you're watching this, let us know below what you've taken away from this video.
That is, yes, that is perfect. Honestly, people will probably do this now. Because, okay, this sounds so crazy, but a lot of times people, when they're watching or consuming, they need the permission to speak. Like, it's weird. It's like, if you didn't ask them to, like, you're the guy on stage. And so if you're not the guy who with the mic says, has this ever happened to you? And then you show me with her, raise your hand. If you never said that, people wouldn't be like, this has happened to me. Like, people don't do that. It's just like not the flow of how people consume content.
And if you guys are watching this on YouTube and you can see all three of us, who has the best hair? Put your vote down below.
It's not me. Damn it. I was wearing a hat this morning. It's Alvin.
It's always Alvin. It's always Alvin.
Hey man, it's the only thing I got left. So all right. So man, we can go on forever in this pod, man. Well, we're running out of time here. So why don't we start wrapping this up, Hone? What do you think?
All right. Now, if you disagree with Alvin, let us know in the comments below. But all right, so let's talk about Quest for Keys and the triad of success. So this is how we end every show. We wrap it up because we want to hear from you. We believe that true success is built upon three essential pillars: health, wealth, and relationships. Right? Health, wealth, relationships. And mastering these areas is key to living a fulfilling life, which it sounds like you have. Right? So what are key insights or philosophies that you have developed in your journey regarding health, wealth, or relationships?
Health. Okay, I'm like ultra purist when it comes to food. I put health first over everything. I don't know where this started. I think it was after wrestling at some point in time. But I have always given that the A slot, and I've been very stubborn. I've never given that part of my life up in the sense of, I've never been like, you know what? I'll go to the gym after I do this. I'm like, you can fire me. I'm going to the gym. It's fine. Like that, there is such an absolute. I am always health first in every way possible. And I think for that reason, that has totally removed so much of the program of I need to focus on health because it's always number one. And I think that's because it's like, if I'm the vessel carrying the brain, then like the vessel has to be good. Like I have to keep that part moving or else the rest of it's just a total waste. Yeah. So and then do you want me to comment too on the other pillars as well? Or because that's the one that comes to mind the most.
That is fantastic. And if you did have some comments on the other two, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. So the other one is it's wealth and then relationships, correct?
Correct.
So with wealth, I would say like this is something I've probably experienced like more recently, because I feel like my journey in general has just been nothing but hustle. And I will say finally for the first time ever that like I used to always think wealth was so tethered to the dollar, right? It's like wealth. I've got a Rolls Royce. I now realize for the first time ever, and like, a lot of older people would tell me this and I'd always be like, whatever, you're just less ambitious. Like, don't tell me about, how wealth is not just about money. What I started to realize as I got a bit older, but also as I actually had money, I finally got money, right? And I started to realize that like, I started looking at what am I doing with my time when I have money? And unfortunately, because I'm like, I feel like a dog with a tail between its legs. It's like tucked with ears down low because I don't want to admit it because I was so angry. People always tell me this. As it turns out, I do more free shit as I get wealthier, money-wise, monetarily, that have now sort of become a little bit more of a convert in the sense of like wealth is not totally directly related. The caveat to this, which is a total catch-22, is that it takes money to realize that. So it takes money to realize that you don't need money to be wealthy. Ironically, I don't know how to explain this, but once you understand that, then it does change a lot about how you perceive on how you're going to use your time, your energy, and your efforts, which I think does relate a lot to your relationships, which is another flow that you mentioned. I would say that my relationships have strengthened because I don't feel like I don't need relationships for monetary reasons anymore. And so the relationships that I do have in my life are ones that are like They're bettering me. I like these people. I choose to be around them. I want to be around them. And so I think those two things, the wealth and the relationships, at least in my opinion, they've just gone so hand in hand. Maybe that's because I'm in media, and media is all about like, how can I like use you to get ahead? And so like that part of my life though, I feel like as I got wealthier, both with money, I realized that time was really the thing that I was more excited about. And then also the time that I spent with people that were quality.
That's awesome. It reminds me of what Jim Carrey said, right? He's like, I hope you all become rich and famous so that you realize that that's not it.
Okay, I will say, so this is, and I have an interesting take on this just because I have felt such a rush of fame. When I did Big Brother and I got off the plane, I went from LA and I think I went back to New York. And I've never been Tom Cruise, right? But I've met Tom Cruise. I've been around him. And I felt like that. I felt like Tom Cruise when I got off Big Brother. People were like coming up to me at the airport. It was like a horde of people. Like people, oh my God, I just watched you. And like, so I really felt fame. Like I really felt it like a hardcore like sensation. And I will say that it felt really cool. I'm not even gonna lie. It was like really fun. But I will say that it was a one note feeling. It was not very dynamic. And the reason why is because it's just the absolute function of fame. Fame is I recognize you from a thing and I want to verify that you're that guy and that I'm now talking to you. And so it's not like, wow, you're famous. Tell me something really interesting and like philosophically deep. It's like, you're the guy, right? And you're like, I am. And they're like, sweet, can we get a photo? Yep. And that's it. Like, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Very transactional.
It is very, and then you start to realize that the fame isn't about you.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's just about them proving that they saw you. So then it's like not even about them wanting to get to know you. It's just to prove that they were around you or that they got to meet you or whatever. And it's like, I'm not mad about that. I'm not even saying that's bad. I do the same thing. My favorite band, right? Like I got a picture with them. I wasn't like, tell me your deep thoughts. I was like, look, I did it. I'm with him. He's here now. That was it. And so it's like, but when you're on the receiving end of that, like you think it's going to be very different. It's not. It's very much just that.
Right. They're gaining social clout. Like they're taking, and that's it. You're just giving. Like, yeah, I'm the guy. And you're taking a picture with me because you want to seem cooler with your friends, but like you deposit nothing with me.
Right.
And it's like, all right, cool.
And I'm happy to give that, right? Like I'm happy to like give that, that energy or that joy or whatever. But on the receiving end, it's just not what I expected. I just really thought that I was going to like, every time I thought it was going to be like such a 50 kids, he has to make, I'm so elated that you like know me, but like you're like, after like 30 days of it, you're just not. You're just not. You're just like, I'm not elated. I don't know. It's not there.
That's why I do this podcast with Alvin. Like, I just go like, oh my God, Alvin, you're the guy. And then I like take pictures of me and Alvin. It's like, I know Alvin, I build my social clout because of my relationship with Alvin.
This is the last thing that's actually the only reason I came on this podcast. Actually, Alvin, if we could get a photo later, are you honored?
You guys are funny.
One of the things I thought about too, which is specifically about fame, is that when you consume a piece of content, right? Let's just call it Macaulay Culkin, right? Like Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin is a totally evolved human way beyond Home Alone. But if you went up to Macaulay Culkin today, you'd probably say something about Home Alone. So it's like, not only is it like a very one-way transactional thing, it's also stuck in time. So it's like, I did the Netflix show and I was super stoked to do it. But like, that show was just one piece of time. So like all of the transaction has to be about that one thing that we did. It's the only thing that we have in common. So I'm not saying that's bad, but that's just another result of it. It's like, it's just not dynamic. It's not like your whole life. It's not this like, people are really interested in your whole experience as a human. They're just like, hey, you did that thing, right? I did. Cool.
Yeah, I still get stories about people asking me, "Oh, how was Shark Tank?" I'm like, "Dude, that was over 10 years ago, man." Like, like
that's awesome.
How is that still relevant?
It'll always be relevant, dude. It'll always be relevant. And like, yeah, you have Shark Tank people, man. They're just going to be into it. And they're going to always be like, and they're going to ask you the same kind of questions. How do I get on Shark Tank? What was it like?
That's it. That's exactly
What's Mark Cuban like? What's Robert Herjavec like? Right? All that. Yeah.
Why did you take the deal?
Yeah. Do you regret not taking the deal? Right?
Those are all the same questions, man.
Yeah, that's because me and Nick are still like, we never actually asked you, so we're kind of like asking you now, but you're not actually answering.
Well, watch episode 1 of this podcast. You'll get the answer.
I just wanted the photo. Okay, this is the actual last thing I'll say about fame now, is that I do think there is another area to fame, and I will say that this is an area that I would like love to explore in the future, and that is creating for a different cause. So like, I think now that I've kind of gone through the whole trajectory of like creating and being famous, I really did want to be famous. I really did. Like, I'll be honest, like I wanted to feel it. I felt it. It was awesome. But now, like when I create stuff, I'm very choosy about it. Like, I'm not doing it just for views in the sense of like, oh, this video will get views. That's why I'm going to create it. Now it passes through this other filter, which is, hey, I want to add value to this. And like, if someone were to ask me about this, I'd want to talk to them about what I just created. And so I think there is a next step for me in that area specifically, and for anyone who's watching this, that I think if you pass it through the value filter, like, would you be willing to talk about this with somebody? I think that'll like unlock this other area where fame then could be very not transactional and more or less a conversation, because when people do come to you, they're asking you about something you really care about.
Yeah, so that leads me to my next question, actually, and it's our last question here. But everybody, we call something our challenges, stuff like that, that comes to our lives, we call them dragons. What challenges or next steps or new adventures that you're looking for, that you're looking to slay or conquer or tame?
I will say, well, like I'll tell you my professional, and then I'll tell you my adventure life. In my professional life, the area that I'm looking to just absolutely master is I want to absolutely master how to get people to do social media and do it really well. Like, I feel like I've sort of like become more of like, this is an analogy that someone gave to me. They said like when rappers start, it's all about themselves, right? They want to build themselves, but eventually they become the label, right? And then they become the producer and the label. And then all they really want is they want their talent to become really famous, right? Because they've already experienced it once and they want to train their talent how to do it. And they become proud in a different way, right? They're like proud fathers of like the talent they've created and the success that they have. I'm like now in that zone. Like, I want to create creators. And so that's really my next thing. And I want to like master that to its like highest ability. And because I realized there's an inflection point where I kind of stopped caring as much about my own content, where I was like, yeah, that's cool that it like got views, but like that oomph isn't there anymore. And then I don't know what it was, but like we created content for another channel and it got tons of views. And I realized that the feeling was still there. It was like, it didn't have to be me anymore. I was like, oh, turns out actually I don't care at all. I just want to be involved in the creative process of getting views. Like, if I feel like I created it and I got views, but I don't have to even if I was just giving instruction, you're the creator. Like, that juice is still there, but it's just now it's in a different area. So now I'm kind of like, cool. Like, I don't even have to.
You're now Master Yoda, and you're looking
yes.
for Padawans. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Padawans. And then in a very physical thing, the dragon is the next one is going to be Aconcagua. So that's the tallest mountain in South America. So me and another GoBro are going to climb it in January.
Whew, damn.
Do it in your rollerblades,
bro. Insane.
Years ago, I rollerbladed as well. I had a pair of Randy Spicer rollerblades.
Dude, oh my gosh, bro, you're legit, bro. Spizers, dude, that's sick.
Yeah. This is like circa 2001.
Wow, dude, I'm proud of you, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So my dad was like, all right, let's go to China. Let's go visit the Great Wall of China and all that. I was like, all right, sweet. I'm going to rollerblade the Great Wall of China. I get there. I don't realize it's all steps. It's just like steps. So I have my rollerblades on but just walking up steps. I was like, there's no rollerblading of the wall. It's just walking.
And most of the wall isn't actually even fully built. Like most of the wall is like, it's only like restorated portions of the wall. Like,
yeah, the tourist traps.
Yeah. And then it's like cobblestone, which would be like even harder.
It's like brick. It's brick and it's all uneven. It's nuts. So had the rollerblades on, had this vision, no internet, had no idea. It was all steps. Just like, oh, this is terrible.
Dude.
Yeah.
Man, I'm really sorry for your loss on that one. We should like pave a portion of it just so you can have that childhood journey.
Yeah. I got to find my skates. They're somewhere.
Dude, I want you to get back into it, bro.
Yeah, we'll go skate one day. We'll go rollerblade.
There's actually this like a resurgence, right? They're called big wheels now. And so it's rocker, so it's 4 wheels down. And it's like Friday night skate night. And it's not at the skate park anymore. It's just like a bunch of people like rollerblading around.
Oh. Well, that's fun. That's fun. That's what we used to do. Yeah. All right. We gotta wrap up. But Nick, where can people find you? How can people work with you? What services do you offer?
Yeah, how can people be Padawans of yours, man? Like, you know, I'm sure people can be lining up. So
everybody can find me at Nick Uhas, name at Nick Uhas. I think if it appears like this in the podcast, it's NICKUHAS. Just find me on there, DM me, and I'll get right back to you. And the services that we're offering is we are offering how to do social media. From if you have nothing, we're going to get you on, we're going to train you, we're going to get you up to speed. If you have something, we're going to get you to a brand. And if you are just sailing, then we're going to get you into paid media and we're going to show you how to do that.
Awesome. Well, Nick.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Great having you.
Amazing, man. I've learned so much. I had to like call you right after this call and, pick your brain some more.
I love it, dude. Hell yeah.
I'm going to call you after Alvin.
Or we're just like taking phone calls. We're booking them now.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's it. That's the show. It's a wrap. See you guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it.